We recommend that interfaces are always installed as automatic services so that they automatically start when the machine reboots. Also, we recommend that the time clock, the internal system clock on this data acquisition node, that should be synchronized with the clock on the Pi server. Now, it's not a requirement that it be synchronized. It's just a good idea if you can. And they, of course, with regard to time zone and time, daylight savings time, that's very important as well. And we'll discuss more about that later on. You should know that any data that's more than 10 minutes into the future is going to be rejected by the Pi server. It's one of the reasons we suggest you synchronize the two, especially, well, more specifically, the data source and the Pi server should be synchronized if at all possible. If you're getting timestamps from the data source, then, as I said, if they're more than 10 minutes in the future, that can be a problem for Pi. Also, because not all the Pi servers are going to run the same interfaces, we do supply a site-specific command file that's in the Pi admin directory, and it is called when we start up Pi manually using this pi srv start.bat. Now, let me back up for a second and explain what we're talking about here. We normally automatically start up all of Pi services and also the interfaces when you reboot. But there are times when you need to start up Pi when you're not rebooting. For example, if you've just installed a brand new version of Pi, you shut down Pi, you upgrade, and then you start up Pi again. There's no need to reboot during any of that. So we have a utility called pi srv start.bat, and that's what's used to start up all the Pi services when you're not rebooting. Now, pi srv start.bat is going to call pi srv site start.bat, and that should contain the commands that will start up your interface. See, we want the interface to start up every time Pi starts, no matter how we start, whether we started up with a reboot or whether we started up with pi srv site, or whether we started up using pi srv start.bat. And that's why we suggest you put these net start commands in. Now, if you haven't seen it, net start and net stop are Windows commands for starting and stopping a service. So let's take a look at these two files. Let's look at the Pi server. This is assuming that you're running this interface on a Pi server. On a Pi server, we will look at the Pi directory, and within Pi, in the ADM directory, the admin directory, you'll find this. It's called the pi srv start. Let me make this a little smaller. Yeah, here it is, pi srv start.bat. It calls pi srv site start.bat, and that's where you should incorporate this command to start up the right interface. So in our previous exercise, or the previous examples I was showing you, I installed the pi snmp interface. So I should make sure we do a net start of pi snmp. Now that, what you put here, that can either be specifically the name of the service or the display name of the service in double quotes. And you can look at the services applet to determine what the name of the service is. So that would be how we would start this up as a site-specific startup option. We need to put that same thing in pi srv site stop.bat. We would do a net stop of the interfaces that are unique to your system. Now, finally, we also recommend that buffering should be enabled on data acquisition nodes. And again, buffering is going to be covered later on.